Okay, for the first challenge, it's detention. There's nothing like old-fashioned mental conditioning. You know, in detention, like The Simpsons, you have to write the same word over and over again. Yeah. We're going to have to do that here, but within React. And we don't actually have to, so we're going to have to write, I will never mutate state or props directly. Kind of how I was just saying earlier that you never want to change the state without, so this state that count equals something. You never want to do it directly. You always want to call set state or set count, something like that. So you never want to mutate it directly. So the first setup, create React app. I'm going to cd into my desktop, clear desktop. Then I'm going to use create React to scaffold app. So I'm going to actually create the React app in here. So what is the, how do I create a new app? NPM.
Yeah. Create a React app.
Yeah, let's use.
But whenever he ran whenever he actually ran the create app, he did
NPM create React app detention. See what happens. Oh no! Something. Did I do something wrong?
NPX.
I thought he used the NPX for install.
No, he explained that you to do NPX.
So installing it does kind of take a little while. So any questions? Anything randomly? Something you're a little remote. What questions do you have? Because this is downloading all these libraries.
All of these libraries are, so I guess Facebook or a team from Facebook created this framework.
Yes.
But the libraries that fall under it are things that they create. I'm sure they created some of it, but they do all of it, right?
I actually don't know. They could have created all of this, but I don't know.
I would assume that some of it is using publicly available open source libraries because why reinvent the wheel? But to extend the analogy of being a car, it's probably built with engineering and figured out where all of the pieces go together. It didn't reinvent the idea of how to maintain the gas. It didn't probably reinvent the fuel pump, but designing the engine itself.
And I don't remember it ever taking this long. This is like the first time I'm using the Create React app in quite a long time. I never used to take this long. So no, I actually thought it was my internet, but I was doing this at home too, and it was still taking a long time.
Yeah, I imagine that to some extent probably stores the current version of all these things on your computer. So next time you
No, so it's almost done. Post install life like zero. Happy hacking. Here we go. NPM start, NPM run build. NPM, you don't have to really worry about any of that stuff right now. So I'm going to go CD. Where's my detention? Is it in here? Detention right there. So I'm going to clear CD the detention and the code. You don't have to use virtual environments. This is just, right. So we have our git-ignore file. We have this package.json file. So the package.json file just holds all your libraries that you need. So if another user downloads it, they can run npm install, and it's going to install all this stuff. So right now we really don't have anything. We only have React, React DOM, and React scripts. And here are the scripts that we run to we have access to. We have start, so that's when we do an npm start, and it's going to run React scripts start, and that's actually just going to start the server. So starting development server. There we go. So here we go. So we're in our source, and I'm just going to delete all of this. I don't want that. So the requirements are you use create, write, I will never mutate state or props directly 100 times. So seems kind of easy. So do paragraph. Going to copy and paste. I will never make never mutate state or props directly. Now I have to do that 100 times. Now I could do like 100 times that, but we're software engineers, so that doesn't seem very efficient to do.
Or you just copy and paste that.
So I've got my functional component. Now I want to write a function within here that's going to render that. I will not, yeah, do that 100 times. So John, let's write this function.
Okay, how, if I remember correctly, John just wrote a function name with parentheses and then double brackets.
Just like, what should we call a function?
We should call it
Right.
right sentence. Right.
So like something like that.
Yeah. And then we can put our for loop in there.
So okay.
So we move for, let's see,
Let I equals 0. I less than or equal to, just do less than 100. I plus plus.
there we go.
Okay.
And now, I just do right.
Print.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to do- so whenever you want to put it, before.
Yeah.
Outside the loop, it's in the scale off and do-
So maybe create an array. An array. And then in here, we push that array.
Yeah.
So what should we push?
Push the sentence.
The string or maybe HTML? It's actually the JSX. This is actually JSX. And now what do I want to return?
We want to return the right sentence.
Return. Look at what we're actually returning. So right now, it's getting an error. Right, sentences. So let equals that maybe. All right, cool. Nothing's showing up, which is fine because there's nothing being displayed. Now, how do I interpolate JavaScript within JSX. How do I insert JavaScript in here? Brackets like that?
And then call the function.
I'm going to call the right sentences and invoke it. There we go.
Whoa. Can you say, I don't know, I thought you do class method, app class method. What do they call it? Decorator.
No.
Can you do stuff like that in JavaScript?
I don't think.
You can make the a function to be a side function.
I've never seen it.
Oh, that's
But the decorators aren't really the type of specific.
So if I wanted to console log something, that work? No. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let's see if this shows up. Warning, app last week. No. For each child should list a unique key. So it rendered.
yeah.
I'm going to get rid of that. That's not important. But it says each child in a list should have a unique key property. Check the render method of app. Then it gives us like, for more information, click here. So keys help React identify which items have changed, are added, or are removed. Keys should be given to the elements inside the array to give the elements a stable identity. Yeah, React has really great documentation. So it looks like in our list, in this example, it has numbers. It's got this variable called numbers, and it's mapping over, and then it's returning a list item. So maybe I need like a key number to string that will identify so instead of number, I have a unique variable called I. Let's look what happened. That went away. So this page is using the development build of React. So that's that Chrome Dev Tools. So if I want to look at components, app, so it's just one big app. That's the name of our actual app. Right there. So I'll let you guys finish that specific challenge. Research CSS, attempt to style a page. It looked like writing on a chalkboard. I don't know what that is. Design. Investigate the arrays, object, and fills, map function. That might work. Just want to look at something. We could also.
Those challenges to be
So let's go over another challenge, the more interesting one. Let's go over palindrome. So create your text box, create a UI that has text input with an on change event. Whoop. So it looks like we're gonna have a text box, and as we type in it, it says capture what you type. Once a user types something into your box, capture what they type, referencing the value. So we're gonna capture everything, and then in real time, it's going to display true or false whether or not what you're typing is a palindrome. So for all intents and purposes, I'm going to use this app because I don't want to download an entire new one. So I'm going to get rid of this. And when you return, return JSX, you always want to use a div return and then write whatever you want here. So always return a div, and then in here you can do anything else. Like put all your other properties and stuff like that. Don't return just like like a paragraph tag. Don't just do that. You always want to return a div. Get back to, I don't know. So I want to create an input or a form, right? Because I want to grab somebody, like an input from something. Input, is that it? Let's go back to, so there's my input. Cool, I've got an input form. Let's do some more. This is a palindrome. Is this a palindrome? So now I need to grab that input. Where does it say in the, where you are with an on-change event listener? Text input, I'm just click on that. On change, that doesn't have anything. Maybe I'm gonna Google this on change event at React. On change with examples, there we go. If you don't know what this is, gotta research it. So it looks like it right here, return input, name, first name, on change. Looks like it's got a handle change method that is called. So I'm gonna just copy and paste that in here. So every time that is called, I want like a function, like a handle change method. All right, let's look at more of the documentation. All right, function handle change, here we go. E takes in an event, console log e.target.value. It takes in an event. I like to actually console log. So it's going to console log that change. I'm going to refresh. I'm in the console now. I'm going to type. Oh, there it goes. It's, all right, it's capturing it, which is good.
Without the form, could you inside the div, could you do an on event for, could you capture anything very tight?
Yeah. Like in the, what do you mean? In the form, yeah.
In the form, but so let's say it's not in the form, you move that on change into like the div itself.
No.
But
On change attribute.
What I'm saying is, you could do it, exploit a functionality like that somewhere else in the HTML, so that even though you're not entering anything into the form, like on
No,
cover,
I don't
like
think
on,
so.
on cover, you know, text and stuff.
No. I mean, I actually don't know. I don't know what the use case would that be.
You probably have to have some kind of a separate library.
You want to capture keys or something?
Like a capture keys for doing controls correctly, rotating a circle around that scene.
Anyway, but yeah.
You probably have to have some kind of a user input library to render into the field.
So in here, what if I want to set this state for this. I want to set this on handle change. And I want to set the thing to state. I want to, whatever I'm typing in here, I want to set it to our state or something like that. So I want to import use state, the use state method from React. Then I want to so it says on change. Once a user types something into your box, capture what they type, referencing the value of the text input field. Okay, write your palindrome function. So going to back a week, I don't know why it says that, but set state on your component and say whether or not your input is a palindrome. Display that on the screen. Oh, okay. Does anybody remember the palindrome function? So I'm just gonna copy. Sure. The library within React. So I created a, this is like the final product. So I wanted to create a submit button, even though it's not necessary. So yeah, let's see, what's a palindrome? Race car? So I get the submit button is when it will turn true. Is palindrome. So what we got, we have an input, name, on change. I'm gonna add that button. So I did mine a little bit differently. I added a submit button that would check it. So there's on submit as this function called is palindrome. So this form has an on submit event handler. So on submit, it's going to execute this function, and then we got to do e.prevent default, which prevents it from like refreshing the page. And it grabs the value of the input. So I'm typing in here. When I click submit, it grabs this value, e.target .name, which is palindrome, and then the value of that. And I'm just console logging right now, just the reverse word. Then I have this reverse word palindrome, or this reverse word function that takes in the word, which is this variable which determines whether or not it's a palindrome. And then this is where I determine whether or not it's a palindrome or not. This is the word.length. It doesn't have a word.length. It's setting the state, set input to false, and then or else. It's going to run through this algorithm. Okay. it's not a palindrome, it's going to return false. Otherwise, it's going to return true. And it's going to set the state input to true. So I made mine with a button. You don't have to. And then I also did string or interpolation or oh my god, blanking on what this is called, where a ternary operator, where if input equals false, if it equals false, return this div. Otherwise, return this true div. And this is all done in JavaScript. It's called a ternary. I'm sure you guys did that early on. Yeah. So let's try it. Race R. Submit. True. 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 Poopy. False. So that's just this example. So again, we want to use state according to the requirements. Where is it? Let's say you use state somewhere. Yep, set state on your component. This is where we're actually setting the state. And we're the initial state is false because when it first loads, it's not a palindrome, so it should be false. Then in my reverse word where it checks whether or not it's a palindrome, if the word.length, if it doesn't have a length, it's going to return set input equals false. Otherwise, it's going to continue through the algorithm. And if the word at the left, it just essentially checks the left and right indexes and keeps moving forward to see if those words, those letters are the same. If they don't equal the same, then that means it's not a palindrome. It's going to return the set input to false. Otherwise, if it makes it all the way through, that means it is a palindrome. It's going to set the input to true. Any questions about the palindrome, what it looks like? You don't have to do the submit button. That was just something I did of like a stretch goal. And you don't even technically have to use a form. So I'm going to remove the form and see what it looks like without the form. So this on change, I'm not even using that right now, but instead of using the on change, what if I use the event hand that is palindrome one? So it gives us some errors. That's okay right now. This might not work. Oh, yeah, that broke. Oh, yeah, that's why. E.target.value. Yep, see, that's how I changed it to not use a form. So it updates it in real time. Yeah, every time this changes, it runs this is palindrome method, which grabs the actual input, assigns it to a variable called palindrome, then it returns, get rid of that, returns this reverse word function that actually tests whether or not it's a palindrome and returns true and false, whether it is or whether it isn't.
It's almost like a safety password where it says it's not
yes.
It's not a form.
Yep. So instead of using a form, you can just do it like this, or you can use a form. And then for the last one, I'm gonna have you guys do on your own.
Oh, come on, Tom. Just do this one too. I got plenty of time. It's only 11.
Destructuring, is that it? Oh, that's Thursdays. It's called state abbreviator. right here it gives you a file called index.js that has all the states as an array of indexes. So you can import that into your React app. And then you're just going to use a drop down. So select a UI drop down menu that contains a list of states. When a component that displays the abbreviation of that state is selected. And once you select the state from the drop down, it's going to display the actual, or it actually only displays the abbreviation. Yeah. So just the drop down says Alaska. You select it. AK. This drop down will say Illinois. It'll say it sucks. Something like that.
That sounds about right.
Any questions? So go back, and I would probably do the lecture, just to get used to using class components, functional components, use state, set state, and then move on to the detention and palindrome. The detention is pretty straightforward. Palindrome takes a little more getting used to because you actually have to use an algorithm. And then the set state, or then the state abbreviator, be a little more difficult, maybe.